episode_number_16. He was angry with the bank manager. Such an emergency happens when they can't send anyone else from Pakistan on so much notice. And they told me where to go. Salah explained. Still, you say you were busy. Do you have any work in Pakistan these days? He laughed. But I don't have any work. Did you ever get angry with the Imam? New in your work? Not necessarily, he said confidently. Imam could not speak. You do so and go to the actor's house. You will be bored if you stay alone for so many days. No, I won't be bored. This is a big job. Salah was surprised by his tone. She never used to talk like this, and a little while ago she was talking in an extremely happy and enthusiastic way. Then suddenly it happened. He wanted to ask Imam, but immediately he thought it better to change the subject. This was a small word to capture the quality of what she was feeling at that time. She was extremely sad and angry. Finally, he did not go out after saying that for 4 weeks. Later on, he started counting every single hour of those 30 days. I will not do this email again. I will not call. She will not ask him when he should come and when not. He comes, you don't come. You don't come. It's my fault that I'm going to hell. If you don't ask him again and again, he doesn't do it this way. That night, lying on the bed, she was making a list of all the things in which she had disobeyed her father. Lying on the bed, staring at the ceiling, his list had reached 205 entries, when he saw a slip on the ceiling right above the bed. She got up and sat down. This was the worst for him after seeing the lizard. He got up from the bed and went to the sofa, and then started getting angry with Salah. A small lizard appeared in the apartment 2 weeks ago. At that time, the bedside table lamp was reading a novel, which was extremely interesting. Total above is on top of the table. He was fast asleep on the bed. She would never wake him under normal circumstances, but this was not a normal situation for him. Salah. Salah. He woke up in his sleep at the sound of it. What happened? Look at that. It's stuck to the ceiling above my bed. Imam lost his senses and said that. Salah looked at the ceiling while lying down with his closed eyes. Then he again fell asleep. Salah. Imam shook his head again. He thought that he might not have seen that slime in his sleep. I have seen. Imam. She was angry at his indifference. It will go away by itself. You turn off the light and go to sleep. How am I going to sleep? She is looking at me. Turn off the light. You see it. They see you. His indifference angered her more than his advice. You can't kill a lizard for me. I can't kill a lizard at night. And quat. I can't ignore that. If you fall, you'll fall on my tango, and quat. Giyas said helplessly, looking at the ceiling. I come to your side, you come to my side. He went to his side in the same manner as he was told to do so. She was more impressed by his courage than his sacrifice. Turning off the big light in the room, she took her novel and switched on Salah's bedside table lamp and sat in her bed. Salah then kept his side lamp off in the dark like this. Finding himself a bit safe, he read a few sentences of the novel in a calm manner and looked at the smile again. She remained stuck in this place, so Imam saw Salah. He was lying under the blanket in the dark with immense satisfaction. Salah. How brave you are. He considered it necessary to praise the man. And Samajadar too. How are you? He flipped the page. She fell on your bed but ran towards my bed. She is on my side. Imam raised his head and looked at the ceiling, and the next moment he was out of bed. "All you men are selfish and the same," he said as loud as he could to her. As he left the bedroom, Salah had finally opened his eyes. He was teasing him. 10 minutes later, when he told her to clean the lizard, he refused and brought it back from the lounge. He did not see the lizard for the next few days, and then the lizard came back. Surely, he said, they did not kill the lizard. That stupid thing was another point for him at that time. The next day on the phone, he told Salah about the appearance of this lizard. "You told me that you killed him," he said to Salah. "And quote, I really beat him. It's going to be a slippery slope, and quote," said Salah carelessly. "No, it was the same lizard. If you had hit it, you would have shown it to me." She kept her word. Ayla's head was spinning. He could not have expected a more foolish speech from the Imam. "If you told me," he would have given you a dead smile. He tried to show tolerance. "No, that's what I know. If it was the same, how long has it been?" He tried to explain something logical. "I don't know where you are, but you want me to be upset." Salah took a deep breath. What did he say in response to this accusation? "You know I'm a bit shy, but you still see it because you don't have feelings, my love. Everything is funny." He was listening to her conversation. "You always do this with me, and I know you always do because you only care about yourself, and I am your housekeeper. You go wherever you want, but I always stay at home. Slaves are living. I work all day and you can't take a single shot of me." What was the issue in the whole conversation? The lizard not being killed. His selfishness. He could not understand not being at home or all the work he was having to do. For the next 5 minutes he patiently waited for her hiccups to stop. Then when the storm subsided, he said, and quote, "I'm sorry, it was my fault. I say to Furqan, and quote, he will kill the lizard. At the moment, there is no other way to deal with the situation except to apologize. No, I will stay with the lizard until you find out," he said to her while rubbing his nose. Salah laughed uncontrollably, which he suppressed. He did not want to do it. He could not understand what was the problem of Imam. Furqan's employee came and killed the lizard that day. But even this thing did not create happiness in the heart of Imam. The next day, while cooking, he got a cut on his hand with a knife. He put his finger under the water in the sink and then he remembered it. What has happened? After coming from the office that day, he was talking to someone on the phone while walking in the lounge. Imam was putting the dishes for dinner. While he was talking, a cup fell on the kitchen counter. A few bens was being eaten when he picked up the rice placed there. Salah saw some bruises on the back of his hand. He said to him involuntarily while listening to the conversation on the phone, "What happened? Question mark. Imam suddenly looked at his hand following his gaze. "Not a child. And quote, the oil spilled while cooking, and quote," he said carelessly. He held Huais's hand while talking on the phone and looked at her. Then he touched her hand and disappeared from the lounge. Talking on the phone. She was draining water from the fridge. There are 12 forms while talking on the phone about an issue at the supermarket. He took hold of Imam's hand, applied ointment on it for a few moments and then left again in the same way. She could not move. It should be placed on any wound. Wow, it was the first ointment. While eating, the gaze of the old man once again fell on his hand, and he said to him in a state of confusion, "If you plant it at the same time, it will not grow. I am not bothered by it. But I am suffering from sweet loss." He met her gaze and could not answer. He was sure that she must be suffering, and this sentence brought more cooling to her than this salve. Pain in a common wound it used to be. As she reacquainted herself with the feeling of pain, and after so many months, she cut it for the first time, when there was no one to ask her, "What is it?" By the end of the second week, she started to get upset over small things like her job, her finances, her family's children who came to her house, and the owner herself. "Mom, what's wrong with you? Is everything okay?" Salah finally had to ask him directly. "What should happen to me?" He said patiently, "It has not happened to me." "Then you." He stopped talking. It was a little difficult to say that he was bitter with her. "Then what?" Imam asked him to be silent. "No. I won't be able to call you for 2 or 3 days. "Why?" "It's bad. It's so busy that you can't call me even for a few minutes. I will send you an email. If I have time, I will also call you." He was patiently understanding. "Don't even send your email. It will save you even more time." She hangs up the phone in a state of extreme depression. She was angry like a Salah. After a few minutes, the call started coming again. She didn't want to receive the call, but she did. "Not big. You hung up the phone?" he asked in surprise. "Yes, why?" "So your time is not wasted. I used to read in a magazine every day that people who have little sense keep telling their wives their fake engagement stories." I was shocked to hear his sentence. So that his wife gets an impression of how important he is. And this world cannot make it. Salah listens to the rest of his sentences in the same way. This increases his self-esteem. He took a moment to say the last sentence. Waited for Ayla's response. He was silent. "Hello. Imam is concerned that the call may have been made. I've been in the sun. That's all. I wrote in the magazine." He looked serious, but the matter was not serious. "Yes, did you go to the dentist?" He changed the subject. Imam Lee added to the confusion. She didn't want that. She wanted to discuss it. 2 hours later he emailed her the program on 2 weeks. It took her 15 minutes to read the document. This mail was made because of a sentence. But despite this, he did not show any kind of embarrassment. "Why did you go inside Farkan's house?" Salah asked him that day. "My wish." She wanted to say that seeing Furkan or his daughter on the table, she misses him and gets more upset every day after dinner, but she could not say it all. "I know you are very brave. You can live alone, you have a game on your left hand, yet when you go to their house, you have some activity in addition, and what do you care? And what?" He snapped at Salah's sentence. "I care about you. Did you call me for advice?" He is Janjalai. "Yes, keep doing it, there will be no effect on you. This is what you want to say. You are going out and missing me." "What?" Salah felt as if he had made a mistake in listening. "I cannot repeat my words over and over again," he said with pride. "I'm having sex with you?" he asked incredulously. "Yes." The answer was absolutely straight. Salah involuntarily took a deep breath. "If you have any sense, I will be with you." "Are you saying that I am ignorant?" Salah lost his mind. "When did I say you're stupid? Now you are calling me a liar." He laughed helplessly. "What happened to you, Imam? Now you say that my mind is broken." Drink water. Why drink? Do not drink. What's the weather like outside? He was now trying to change the subject, but he was surprised by the reaction of Imam. Imam, is there a problem with you? The next day, she came to the fortress with Nushan to tell him. When Nushan suddenly asked her, she looked at him with a bad look. Then she tried to smile. No, no. Why? Then why is it? Lost? No. I was sleeping a little. How are you talking about Salah? There is no problem. No. It's a matter of course. He tried to smile uncontrollably and pointed to a horse on his back. Didn't you read in the magazine today about people who suffer from inferiority complex and try to impress their wives? Salah called him the next day while talking on the phone. Imam's speech has gone. What are you trying to say, that there are no such men and I talk rubbish? Imam was joking. He was a bit careful. You are taking a serious matter as a joke. What serious matter? Imam. What magazine are you reading these days? What did you do with it? It got worse. If you are going to tell me stupid excerpts like this, I will ask you to sleep. He started arguing with her even though he didn't want to. Now this was happening almost every day. Since the last 4 days, he was unable to hang up the phone by apologizing to him at the end of the phone call. Or that what happened to Imam? She used to be angry before, but she did not talk like this. If Salah could not understand Moa's behavior, then she also did not understand herself. She used to be sad thinking about him all day long and while talking to him. She used to wear blouse. He used to get very angry with him, and why he used to come was beyond his understanding. She would sit all day with the TV on waiting for his call, or turn on the computer and read old emails waiting for a new email with a few lines. Mails in which he would ask how they were doing dozens of times. I used to read and write a long reply and spend the whole night waiting for his email, removing and rearranging his things. Then he used to watch Charlie Theron's movies in his collection. This was the limit of real helplessness. At that time, the actress also stopped feeling bad, which she did not like to see in front of the first year. Every day on the dining table, she also put his dishes. It was like trying to get rid of your loneliness at the dinner table. Until he went to Islamabad for Eid, the silence and loneliness of the house made him completely unconscious. Even after coming to Islamabad, he did not feel better. Out of the whole family of Salah, only Omar and Isra were there to celebrate Eid. Salah asked Taib to do his Eid shopping. She went with them with a big heart. It was also the first time for Islamabad a car that he did not even wait for anyone in his house to look at the window of the guest room. On the morning of Eid, Salah's call came again. He came to the hotel a little early after finishing his session in Montreal. What clothes are you wearing today? He asked her after congratulating her. What's the point of telling you? He made the bed and said while leaning back. I want to imagine what you would look like. You have never looked at my clothes in front of me. What will you imagine when I sit down now? Imam, we will not argue, at least today. What do you want today? Flowers and cake. I said to Mimi, do you want something else? No. She was extremely sad. And quote, you are not missing me, and quote, Salah joked. Jan Kissatha rubbed his eyes. He was talking without considering his silence. It was Eid in Canada and he was attending the conference on the day of Eid. When is your flight? He tried not to choke his voice as he spoke. She would feel great shame if she found out. He was telling her about the flight. You didn't tell me the color of the clothes. Do you remember talking to Salah? You went with Mummy to get the clothes. Hey Leah, the one I'm going to wear today is hazel green. Hazel green? They are involuntary. Their eyes. Eye color is normal. He corrected. Oh. I'm going to look into Jennifer's eyes today. Why? I saw the color of my wife's dress in his eyes. But he was serious. He laughed involuntarily. This is the first time you've laughed since I've been here. Salah noticed his laugh. See woman because of the eyes. You are being jealous. He laughed big. Yes. There is only one thing left for me to do, he said in a joking manner. That is, it does not happen or cannot happen. He kept asking and he couldn't answer. He laughed at his silence. What is there to laugh at? She is excited. Laugh at your own good sense. At least you can't be jealous from any woman. He was teasing her and she knew that his gesture was towards Ramesh. You just tell me when you're coming. He thought it better to change the subject. She came back to Lahore from a night flight on the second day of Eid. Because he was waiting for the flight at 8 o'clock the next night. The nervousness and sensitivity that had kept him unhappy for the past 4 weeks had completely disappeared. And after 4 weeks, he finally cut the cake and put the cane off. If Farkan didn't have to go to the airport from Saida Hospital, she would have gone to receive him herself. She was so excited. At 9 o'clock the bell rang again. At 45 minutes. It took seconds to reach the door. God! What happiness is that which I felt at the first sight of this person's face. He opened the door and saw Salah with his hand on the handle. He thought. She was startled by the sound of the door opening while she was talking to Farkan and their eyes met the warm smile she was used to. It will happen. Imam. Check whether the goods have been delivered. There is no break or image. Farkan shouted as he pulled out 100 cases and brought them inside. Salah smiled. Imam tried to answer the greeting but a lump started to appear in his throat. There was another reel of uncontrollable tears. This is how she was. Bleeding again. This is a soft touch. How are you? He kept asking her. They hugged and grew older. He separated her now and saw her face and tears. What happened? He shuddered, and Farkan turned and looked at Suk inside the case. I was also looking for onions for salad, he said in a hoarse voice, trying to smile in ignorance. Then maybe he himself felt that excuse was weak. He had a headache. And he had a flu. He got confused by Farkan's smiling eyes. Salah looked at Farkan and said to him once again, "Unquote. My friend, you should take some medicine." Unquote. The cooking range came from the street. She walked into the kitchen without stopping. It was difficult to tell by standing in front of him and making eye contact with him. He splashed water on his face in the sink and drank some raw water. The stuttering of the voice could end only with this. And quote. Don't eat. Don't eat. And quote. He used to say to Salah Farkan when he came to the lounge. No, not at this time. I'll be waiting for food, children. After a few days, he said he will go for Anna. He went to the outer door to touch her. She started eating and putting dishes in the kitchen. He was talking on the cell phone in the kitchen on the way back from the door. It was Sikandar on the phone. Imam saw him opening the bottle of water placed on the kitchen counter. Holding the phone between his shoulder and ear, he opened the lid of the bottle. Before going to his glass, Imam placed a glass of liquor on the counter in front of him. He took the bottle of liquor from Salah. Yes. Water. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. He was talking on the cell phone in the kitchen on the way back from the door. It was Sikandar on the phone. Imam saw him opening the bottle of water placed on the kitchen counter. Holding the phone between his shoulder and ear, he opened the bottle cap. Imam placed a glass locker on the counter in front of him before going to his glass. He gave her a bottle of liquor from the Salah and brought water to it in a glass. Salah thanked Iskander with a gesture of his head while talking to him and then said while taking a sip of water, "Papa is asking for your well-being." He smiled as the fridge door opened. "I am correct now." Salah conveyed his sentence to Iskander without considering his sentence. Taking a piece of apple from the salad lying on the counter and putting it in his mouth, he left the kitchen talking to Iskander in the same way. After seeing the medicine, he placed the dishes on the table. Once again moisture started coming in the eyes. A month later, he was at home. It was not about love, but about habit, and it was his habit. And sometimes habit is even more deadly than love. She suddenly thought that she would change her clothes before eating and went to the bedroom. She took off her clothes and hung them in the washroom. She was leaving the washroom when he entered the bedroom. "I will eat the liqueur in the shower," as he announced. "I have provided your clothes and towels and brought new slippers for you," she said, removing the slipper from the shoe. "If you stay in the Imam, he will remove it himself." Taking off the wristwatch, she forbade Imam. She never liked someone else to remove her shoes. She knew. But despite his prohibition, she took out the slippers. "It doesn't happen." He put the slippers next to him. He was sitting on the bed taking off his shoes and socks and she was looking at him aimlessly. Salah noticed with some surprise. "Are you wearing yellow clothes while waiting for me?" he shouted at Imam while removing his socks. He laughed for no reason. He used to call Mistra yellow, but today he did not correct. "Nice slippers," he said to Imam wearing slippers. Imam tried to take the shoes and socks from him. "Who kept it first?" Salah stopped him. With a little surprise, Imam stopped. Imam saw his wristwatch and cell phone on the bedside table. Every empty space started to be filled. By the time he took a bath, Imam had started eating. Salah said helplessly while looking at the dining table, "What has the Imam cooked?" "Whatever you like," he said simply. He pulled out a chair and sat down looking at the papers on the table and fell into a deep sleep. "You wasted your time." Any other time, she would have been very angry with this sentence spoken on the day's hard work. But at this time, it didn't look bad at all. She was so beautiful. "I used my time for you," Salah corrected in a soft voice. "But you will be tired." "No. Why would you?" 1. Pass has grown towards the age of 50 years. Salah put rice in his plate as usual. Seeing this rice lying in the corner of his plate, his heart was filled with rice. Now there was rice in his plate. After a month she was sitting so close to him. While serving the food, his hands were visible in the sleeves of the white shirt, and his hands were directed towards him as usual. "Are your paintings complete?" he was asking her while starting to eat. "And what?" "Which paintings? And what?" he said absent-mindedly. "You were making a mess," he reminded her. Also, instead of answering, Luo waved at him again. "But don't you think you're living here alone?" he asked. "Is the food good?" Imam answered once again. "It's always good." She smiles. How many novels have you read? He was a father. These are also chops. He served another 5. Your flight is safe. Yes. The road is bumpy all over, but it is fine. And the conference was also good. And quote. Excellent, and quote. He said. Absent-mindedly. What is your routine? She was not successful in moving away from the subject. My routine. She fell asleep. What was she doing all day? What was she doing before? But then I will spend a lot of time with you. Absolutely. All evening. All night. Then you will be happy. He said, with a smile while taking out the quorum in his plate. Instead of answering, the Imam looked at his plate, which had the same pattern of cheese. It was not eaten. You brought Saeed Imami here. Salah said to him at once. I don't know what he was thinking. I said to them, but you know that they cannot go home for so long. He replied, this is understandable. Salah involuntarily raised a novel towards him while eating. That last morsel was eaten by him. For a moment he took that bite in his mouth. But he could not chew it. They have been established as the last limit. She cried helplessly. He stopped drinking water. What happened? He was shocked. Put your hand on Honto and he will cry like a child. What happened? Imam. He is very upset. He could not find his face. Once the tears were gone, everything was easy. Fargama Sek. You will drive me crazy. What happened? Question mark. Everything is fine after death. Didn't anyone bother you? He was completely conscious. Rubbing his eyes with tissue paper, Imam shook his head trying to control himself. Then why is it crying? Salah is not satisfied. I miss you so much. Then she started crying. Salah felt that he had made a mistake in listening. Who did you miss? And quote. You, and quote. He said, bowing his head and crying. He was silent for a few moments. Who took me? This was the end of uncertainty. She cried and cried. She raised her head and looked at him. Then she took her plate from the table and went to the kitchen. My mind was broken because of this. He could not speak. Now she was lifting the dishes and Salah was watching her lifting the dishes in front of her with a glass of water in her hand. As much as this small confession. He stayed out for a week and failed in trying to understand his behavior. He was now seeking understanding. He craned his neck and looked at her. She was moving around in the kitchen, rubbing her eyes and wrapping things. She placed the glass on the table and came to the kitchen. She was taking out the sweet glass from the fridge. Without saying anything, he hugged her. He is compensating with great gentleness, forgiving. They were doing bad things. Not a single word has been exchanged between them. The rain started to stop. She dried her cheeks and eyes with her hand and separated from him. The teacher was alone at home and kept missing her. Denial, acknowledgement, then denial. This was the circle of life of this Oriental woman, and she also began to revolve in this circle. Yes, that's what happens when you're alone. Salah helped him make his situation come true. Imam's income is big. I had a toothache. That's why I started crying. He stopped, then he said, or I guess toothache is very painful. Once it happened, I knew what the situation was. They were talking without looking at each other. Oh. The third place was not in his mind. He asked the same question. You didn't miss me? Every day, every hour, every second. He used to say eyes in his eyes, and in Imam's eyes like stars started twinkling. I was not with you for 4 weeks. If I was not with you, I would have died. You are wrong, she laughed in a hoarse voice. And what? You too, and what? Said Salah bluntly. She was laughing while crying, but for the first time in 4 months, the reins were not objectionable. That night she was lying on the bed a few inches away from him, resting her elbow on the pillow, talking to him. She was talking. Salah was completely silent. Chat Lita was listening to him, watching his face. He was watching his face without batting his eyelids. The impressions of his eyes were flashing on his face. The ring of his laughter speaks volumes, as if he were in the front row of a cinema. She sat down and was a watchful observer. When she fell asleep, she put her head on his shoulder and said, "And what? Okay. Let's go to sleep." "And what?" He said this sentence maybe 25 times. When he remembers her on her shoulder, she raises her head and asks him, looking at his face, "I have told you that." In Salah Nafi, the conversation starts again from the same place. The silent audience started watching the same movie. "What call is this?" He was talking very suddenly. "I heard the sound of ears from far away. At dawn," Salah said in a calm manner. "And my God, it's dawn. And me. You wanted to sleep. You were sleepy. I don't know. Don't go. You tell me." She was very sad now. "You should have told me. Why didn't you say?" "What did he say?" He was calm. "This is why you want to sleep." "But I didn't want to sleep. But I don't know the time. At least you should have told me." She was really shy. "Do you think I have a sense of timing? You go to sleep, Father. And I'm sorry. How many useless things have you been thinking?" "I will go to sleep after praying. I was just thinking about how you talked to me so much today. You won't even listen to me carefully." She smiled shyly. "I have heard one thing. I can repeat it if you want. Until today, I remember and will always remember what you have said." His tone was smooth, but there was an expression in his eyes that held Imam for a few moments. "If you talk like this, I can wake up every night." Imam took a look. Moving away from her, she rested her head on the pillow. She was now lying straight, looking at the ceiling. After turning off the alarm of the cell phone lying on the side table, Salah turned it to the other half of the drawer and said to Imam, "Do you have anything else to say?" Imam saw his face. He was serious. "No," he said in a soft voice. "Come on, love." Salah's reply silenced her for a moment. "Think about it." He laughed involuntarily. He took a deep breath. Closing his eyes for a moment, he touched his knees like a lamp, and if there was a woman, he would show her love. "That's enough. In you," she was. Clearing the table after having breakfast with him around 10 o'clock when he came from the bedroom with a box of liqueur in a beautiful Peking. "What is this?" She stopped cleaning the table. "Look." Salah raised the box towards him. "Is it jewelry?" "Come on." The label and box design made a mistake. Instead of answering, Salah remained silent. He took it. A crystal case was in the middle of a red velvet-like, extremely soft and shiny cloth, and the color reflected from the case made him calm. For a while, a platinum tulip diamond with a band of the color was around this 14-carat diamond. There was a circle of 9999999. It was not only the diamonds that amazed him, but also the intricate designs in which they were all jewels. "This is very beautiful," he said with difficulty. Salah reached out and opened the crystal case, took out the ring in his hand and put it on his finger. "Yes, It looks good. And look, it is exactly the size of my finger as it was raw and excited. Your finger size lacquer is made because you have one color lacquer in it. He kissed her hand in which the color was worn. This is a wedding gift for you, Salah said while touching his hand. He looked a little surprised. Wedding gift. 4 months have passed since the wedding. And quote. I didn't give you a wedding gift. First I don't remember, then I don't have money, and quote. He said with a laugh. And where did the money come from? From where did he avoid? Imam raised his eyes and saw him. I didn't do anything wrong. She was involuntarily embarrassed. When did I say think of a year old? For whom? For everything. This is all yours. I thought you wouldn't even remember that you didn't give me any gift on my wedding. I was overwhelmed with happiness looking at my hand. It was the only flower that I had in my heart for this year. Said was no. I did not forget. Asterisk 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 my God. Look. She was walking on the sidewalk and stumbling involuntarily. Salah followed his gaze. He had come to see a fair held at the Donovan race course. A flat was aimlessly walking a short distance away from the fair ground when Imam walked by. The right side of the tree is in the water. Hui was startled to see the image that appeared in the grass. Looking at the image, it also looked beautiful for a while, as it was filled with color and light. The edge of the valley shines in it. Seeing a tree of colorful diamond gems and a lily. Seen as it is night in heaven. After a long silence, he heard the Imam's voice. He craned his neck and saw him. This is what heaven is like. Salah heard him say. Instead of saying anything, he started looking at the water again. Will there be stars in heaven? She was asking. And quote. Yes. It will be very good. And quote. He guessed. So many colors. And quote. Every color in the universe. And quote. She chuckled involuntarily. And quote. Did she like the answer? And quote. The night will be so bright. More bright than this. More luminous than this. Salah said involuntarily. He tried to touch the picture with his finger. Salah immediately pulled it. The lights are on in the tree. There may be current in the water. He was angry. I wanted to touch him. This image is not heaven. What else will happen? In heaven, you. He craned his neck and looked at the picture. Only in and you won't be. Don't know. He saw her with a strange smile on her neck. And quote. Then how do you know I'll be there? And quote. He teased. What else can be said besides paradise? He asked in response. He laughed. Is paradise so easy to find? He told Salah. I will not be found easily. You will be found easily. His tone was strange. Why? He was surprised. How easily you find heaven in everything. I could not find it till today. That's why he was saying that. 2 days ago, she was going to buy a lamp for the house. She started looking at the lampshade while reading a novel at night. He was about to close his laptop after checking his email. Then he saw Imam. What are you looking at? They were surprised. And quote. Beauty, and quote. He said, looking at the bare lampshade. And quote. Yes, that's good. And quote. He said curtly. What flowers are these? Flower. Salah looked at the lampshade with surprise. The first thing he noticed was the pattern on the shade of pearl color. It was an exquisite pattern of golden yellow flowers. It's not a rose. It's not a tulip. It's the flower she's been trying to identify as she's given the weapon. Will such a flower be in heaven? He laughed. Good look. These flowers are changing color. But they are not changing color, but they are blooming. Have you come to a city like Salah? Were those flowers really blooming? Lovely. He couldn't live without praise. Did he understand why this lamp was so expensive? And cleaning out her drawers a week ago, she came to him with a post from the old waste paper box. Yes. I have thrown it. It is useless. She saw that post car in Imam's hand and said. She took the car and sat near him. How beautiful the lake is. It is made of sandalwood. Look at the color of this boat. It is the color of sandalwood. It feels like sitting in a boat early in the morning. How much screen is there in this scene? Like it's heaven. I don't tell you. You are throwing it. He starts looking at her face without choice. She doesn't come into his real life, that heaven. Take a picture of him with a cell phone. Imam's voice suddenly startled him. Salah took out a cell phone and took some pictures. Orsel gave it to him. He looked at the picture again and was satisfied. Salah said to him, "Yes." Donovan took one last look at the mirror and walked away. Salah caught his hand while walking. "Why are you silent? Say something," Imam said after walking a few steps. "You have been listening to me. Maybe you will get heaven before me." Imam understood the meaning of his sentence and consoled him. He laughed. "If you want, I can do it too. I want to die before you." "Forget what? Said that maybe I will get to heaven before you. But I said no to die. Can it be met without it?" He could not speak. He was looking at another's face. Then Salah saw the tears in his eyes. "It's okay. Say it willingly." There was frustration in his voice. Salah held his hand and pressed it in the egg. "I was just repeating what you said. And I didn't mean what you said. I understand." They both started walking again. "Will you choose me as your partner in heaven?" He could not speak. He laughed. "That is not when I said that." He stopped. "But you did a little too much. I was sleeping. I thought." "Then tell me." He laughed. "What happened to you? You started talking about heaven." He saw Salah's face. Maybe he was watching her silently. "You are not sure?" He laughed and asked her, trying to make sure. "And what? If you get to heaven, you'll have to choose yourself, and what?" He joked. "And if anyone else has arrived, his smile will disappear." There was a long period of silence between the two knights. The Imam asked for his introduction and the elder did it. But he forced him to look at the elder choice, but it was never about Jalal's choice. His choice may not be in heaven, but it was as shameful as saying something in the confession. He said that he was silent. Time seemed to fly by. Iskander Osman could not believe his hearing for a few moments. "You have misunderstood something. It cannot be sold out." Salah's name is, he said to Ithsam al-Din. He was a business friend of his. And a few minutes ago he called Iskander and complained about the sale of a plate. A friend of his, through his lawyer, bought such a piece of land a few days ago. It belonged to Iskander Osman. And 1 year ago, Ithsam al-Din offered to buy it. But Iskander didn't. Then he told me so. During the division of the property, he mentioned the name of this Palak Salah. Of course, he promised that if there was a need to sell the Palak, Ithsam al-Din would be the first priority. "I have all the paperwork done by my lawyer. If you say so, you will also send an ad for the transfer of the plan in the newspaper. Your son has sold the plank in the market. I regret that. My lawyer told me after the transfer." Iskander Osman's head was lost. I am talking to you now after talking to Salah. Iskander Osman said first. They are still not sure how he can sell the plank without telling them. Salah was in Islamabad and was going to the market on some errand when he got a call from Iskander. Sir, have you sold your plan? Iskander said on the other hand. The old man could not speak for a few moments. Iskander did not expect that the sale of Plaka would be known so soon. You come to my office. He said coldly, hanging up the phone. When was it sold? After reaching his office, Iskander asked him as soon as he sat on the chair. Last month. He tried to keep his tone even. Why? I needed some money. For whom? Salah replied, this time. To be continued.